Buckle up, we're Duncan, Jeff, and Sloan. Let's fill our cups. Commander decks in hand, the battle's about to start. A podcast for the legends, where magic meets the heart. Commander's Pod, where the stories unfold, with heroes and villains, new and old. Duncan, Jeff, and Sloan guide the way in the world of EDH we play.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Commander's Pod. I am Sloan, joined by Jeff.
What's up?
And you might notice that I'm doing the introduction, and that is because Duncan is not here.
Oh, just not here, not dead?
Yeah, we're not going to say that part. We're not going to
that's true.
Yeah, let's not incriminate ourselves.
Okay.
He's definitely alive. He is not buried anywhere on the premises. But with that being said, welcome, guys. Duncan, unfortunately, is not going to be here this episode. He has to work. I don't know, he's like a manager. I guess he's important, does something at work. Doesn't seem that way. But anyways, he won't be here today. So we're going to duo this episode with just me and Jeff. And we're going to go through normal topics that we always do. We're going to do the Tales from the Table, Counterspell, what's triggering Jeff that doesn't do what you think it does. And then today's main topic we're going to touch on is what is Magic doing right? And then we're going to wrap it up with some advice, some pro tips for beginners from a non-pro, and go ahead and end the episode. So we're gonna.
That is funny. I just thought, like, I didn't realize that until you just said it. Pro tips from a non-pro.
Yeah, from a non-pro.
No, yeah, 100%.
Pro tips from a non-pro.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and take it off with Counterspell this week, and Counterspell today is going to be what will happen in 2025 with Magic the Gathering. So. A little bit of this has to do with, I believe, at MagicCon Vegas, they announced the 6-month calendar for 2025. So forgive us as we're both old and don't have great memories. We're going to pull up on our phones here what the announcement schedule is. So real quick, I'll hit on...
And I don't even know if it's technically 6 months, because does yours have the dates on some? I think it's 7 sets they released, but I don't know if they have the dates for the later ones.
Yeah, the later ones don't have the dates, but it looks like...
One goes through August 1st. This might be the whole year.
Yeah, so this is... I got Aether Drift coming out in February. Then we got Tarkir Dragonstorm coming out
Well, you missed Innistrad.
April. Oh, yeah, Innistrad comes
Innistrad
first.
Remastered.
I'm sorry, Innistrad's in January, then Aether Drift in February, Tarkir Dragonstorm in April, Final Fantasy in June, Edge of Eternities in August, and then we have a Spider-Man that does not have a date yet, and then an unannounced Universes Beyond also without a date. So that is the overlook of the upcoming year.
Yep, that's the lineup. Yep.
Yeah, well, that's the lineup. What are your thoughts on these coming out?
The ones that... obviously, Spider-Man is going to be super exciting.
Yeah, I would say if I was a betting man, with how well Marvel did with Wolverine and the other ones, Spider-Man's probably just going to be insane.
It's going to blow up. But then the one I'm excited about, past that obvious one, and I'll also say Final Fantasy is going to be huge for some people.
I do think Final Fantasy has a lot of crossover.
So that might be the second biggest one. But my favorite, separate from those extra IPs, is Edge of Eternities, a space-themed set that takes place outside of the multiverse, and that's coming out around August. But I'm very stoked about that.
Yeah.
However, I think there's going to be some people that maybe aren't as excited about it, because I don't know, have we done a lot of... I don't feel like we've done Space Marines with the IP from Warhammer.
Right, but there wasn't actually like a space-focused...
Right.
Yeah, I don't think there was. And I do remember this last year on one of the episodes we talked about if they got IP for Star Wars, how they could have like the Death Star be like a vehicle, or the battle cruisers be like vehicles that you can crew. So I'm wondering how deep into sci-fi they're going to go.
They could do that, but they're doing the Aether Drift, which is going to add a bunch of vehicles. I imagine they're not going to do that also in Edge of Eternities.
I feel like their theme has been, at least this year, when you look at all the sets, they kind of had an overarching theme this year, which was they were very creature heavy and tribal or typal, whatever you want to say, heavy, right? Like we had a lot of sets that came out with the focus of you want a lot of this type of creature on your field to gain all these benefits. And that kind of weaved in and out of each set. They would do a lot of it one set, then they'd skip, then they come back to it, then they'd skip.
So
again.
your sort of future thoughts on this
predictions,
predictions are that this is going to be also maybe have a bunch of vehicles.
I think this next year it looks like there might be a little bit more vehicle heavy focus, because that's one of the things I will say that is kind of the butt of a lot of jokes, at least in Commander, is, oh, this is a vehicle deck. Okay. It's like that thing that doesn't really exist. It's kind of like, when you pick that tribal type, like that just doesn't exist, but you're going to try to make it work. Like for a long time, we always joked about birds. Like this is a bird deck.
Which are now good.
Yeah.
Well, sort of.
I
mean, it's as good as any Kindred deck, I guess.
Right. But I do think, so I think this next year, we're going to a little bit heavier on vehicles, it looks like, kind of based off of what they're saying. Mm-hmm. But because we can, let's make a couple of bold predictions. So my first one is going to be, I think this next year we're going to have a lot more vehicles pushed at us and that kind of concept of vehicle play, because I think that would potentially also be good for other formats where if you get vehicles that can do two things, it's not just a creature that swings and hits, but like some vehicles that can tap for mana, even if they're not crewed. Mm-hmm. You also have what's his face, the blue and white one that's like infamous CEH one, where he actually does stuff without having to be crewed. Yeah,
and there's a lot of, what you're saying is there's a lot of value vehicles.
Right, and I think that might be what they focus on.
It might be, and I think vehicles also struggle because most people don't understand the tricks you can do with them.
Right.
So that really limits them, because people tend to go for like what's easy right at you. Like the card literally tells you what it does.
Right.
And with vehicles, you have to have you have to use the tricks.
Yeah, so to kind of give a quick idea of one of the things that I do with vehicles is my turtle deck, his ability specifically relies on either being tapped or untapped. Well, usually the way you do that is you would attack with them. That's the simplest way. However, though, with vehicles, you have to tap the creature to crew the vehicle. Mm-hmm. And so that is a way for me to cheat him to being tapped without me having to do anything. Even if he has summoning sickness, I can force tap him to make him be tapped for his ability to work. So,
right.
So I think vehicles are going to be a big part of this next year. It looks like anything that you think that you can think of that's a pretty big prediction.
I don't like this prediction because I don't want it to be true.
Okay.
But you remember Cosmo the dog? I think it was called Cosmo the dog.
Yeah, the rocket.
And that type of space art look. Mm-hmm. I think that's what they're going to do with this. And I don't want them to.
So it's going to be more like on an animated side than it is.
Yeah, I think it's going to be sillier.
Yeah.
I wish they would go more like actual sci-fi.
Right.
But I don't think they're going to. Sort of like the cowboy set was basically all kinds of characters, but they just had a cowboy hat.
Right.
Yeah. Whole bunch of characters, but they're going to have a space helmet.
Yeah.
And I hope they don't do that, but I think they're going to.
I hope with the space one that maybe they make nods to like famous sci-fi, so they don't have to get the IP, but there's like a nod to it. I think that would be
dangerous,
cool.
But they could do that.
But you can definitely do it in ways where it's like respectful and you're not just blatantly ripping it off.
Yeah, Battlestar Galacticus.
Yeah. Babylon 4.
Yeah. Nailed it. Yeah. By the way, one of the best shows.
Enter present instead of prime.
Yeah. Star Trek.
Yeah, there you go with an A. Yeah. They'll never see it coming.
Yeah.
So I think that would be cool though if the universe is the Edge of Eternities is kind of, if it is in space, so they kind of make nods to thing. I think that'd be cool. Maybe that is their entry into trying to get the Star Wars IP. Who knows? Maybe that's...
Well, I mean, they're already in business with Marvel. So
which is Disney.
I don't think it's far away.
Right.
And one could argue possibly that the IP for, Avengers and comics and the Marvel is... And I should have said Disney. I guess I said Marvel.
Yeah.
It's maybe more valuable than the Star Wars one. I haven't looked recently, but it certainly has more content out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's been around a little bit longer because I think, Marvel Comics started in like the 30s, I want to say, potentially. So you have all those comics to pull from, but then also all the TV shows, the animated shows they came out with, and the animated series. You have a lot of stuff to come.
Well, and Star Wars has lost some of its value, I think, over the last.
Yeah, one of the guys we started playing D&D with, one of my good friends I've known for a long time, Taylor. Him and Jeff went off on a rant about 2-3 weeks ago at our game night about just the frustrations with Star Wars and what they're doing, and it's so weird because they're so up and down with their shows. Like the Mandalorian season 1, like everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, this is the rebirth of Star Wars."
Yeah.
And then they came out with the next show right after that, what was it? And it wasn't Andor, it was the other one. But it was just like it bombed. It was like this is silly. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's tough. They're gonna figure it out. But what I'm saying is, I think if they can get the Marvel stuff, they should be able to get the Star Wars stuff. But in this one, I think they're gonna go a little bit sillier. That would be one of my predictions.
Okay. So I'm saying we're gonna go more vehicle heavy next year. Jeff's saying we're gonna go a little silly, unfortunately, with the Edge of Eternities. But hopefully he's wrong. Hopefully I'm right. And
Well, I don't know.
We're both happy.
I don't care that much about vehicles. To be honest, I'm probably like most of the other people. Not that impressed. I hope there's not that many.
And I feel like the reason why that is because they're not, the ones that are out aren't good. So my hope is that if they do vehicles, they do them right, and it comes with.
I guess it would encourage people to have creatures.
Right.
Because in order to crew a vehicle, you have to have a creature.
Correct. Yeah.
Part of the way Magic is going right now is like there's just no creatures.
Right.
So,
and I do think with the Aether Drift, I think they might do like some. Because it looks like it's going to be very like kind of street racer. So I feel like you might have like creatures that are going to be like mechanics you're going to have.
I bet you're going to get to mod your vehicles.
Yeah, like mods.
That would be very cool. Like if you have your vehicle, you crew it and then you mod it.
Yeah,
that would be very awesome.
Yeah, like a mechanic. You can tap a mechanic to mod your vehicle or something.
Yeah, or actually have mods, like some enchantments and stuff, auras and things that you put on are like mods onto the vehicles.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that'd be cool. I mean, so we'll have to see. So, but there are a couple of cards that they've shown. If you go to StarCityGames.com is the website I'm on, where it has the calendar as well as it has some cards that it looks like they're going to feature in each set potentially on there. So you can kind of go take a look and send us your predictions, what you think is going to happen next year with the calendar.
There's some big ones because obviously one of the things we didn't talk about was Takir Dragonstorm.
Yeah.
Any dragon set is always going to be.
Yeah, I feel
that's going to be huge.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's and it looks like based off of the picture for that one, I will say it looks like it might be like monks and dragons if you look at the picture.
Okay, I could be there for that.
Yeah. And because I think when they did dragons last time, there was a decent amount of monks interweaved with them too, because I feel like they kind of go.
Could be. Yeah, I don't remember.
So
could be.
But all right, that's the Counterspell subject for the 2025 calendar. And with that, Jeff, what's triggering you today, my man?
Well, like I've said many times, there are tons of things that trigger me, but in specific, those cards that you have to police everybody else. Like Ristic Study is the most famous one.
Right.
Are you going to pay one?
Yeah.
It's very annoying. It's super annoying.
It is.
Because even if you know they're not going to pay, you technically should ask.
Right.
So it's obnoxious. Are you going to pay one? Are you going to pay one? And I can't imagine there's a human being that at some point doesn't go, I almost would rather not have the card than ask this stupid question again. Like, I'd rather just do whatever the heck you want. I'm fine. I'm done drawing. There's got to be a better way of this.
Well, I feel like the best way to deal with that is for you to make it fun for yourself. So, in my mind, the best way to do that is to make it fun for you. So, maybe just come up with a different way to ask that question every time. Is Doth going to pay the mana? Just come up with ridiculous ways to say it. And I feel like that would at least make it a little less aggravating and annoying.
I feel that meets the need of the troll inside your soul, though. Which I didn't mean to rhyme that, but I'll take it.
It's a wee little troll, though, so it's not that big.
No. You literally enjoy making people, when they play cards, tap them, even though that doesn't matter. When you have a chance.
I mean, I will say my turtle deck is that's why it's my favorite deck. It's just making people put cards into play tapped that have no effect.
Even if you do funny voices, there are some times where you're going to ask that question multiple times,
right,
to the same person on the same turn. It's like, how many voices are silly? They would be even angrier at me, I feel like, at that point, or concerned for me mentally. So yeah, that's my trigger.
And I will point out, Duncan, it was Magic based, and I feel like we did it just because he's not here.
When he comes back,
they're not going to be Magic. Yeah, 100% they shouldn't be. So Duncan, if you want more Magic based triggers, don't be here. Problem solved.
Yeah. And we're saying that because he's alive.
Yeah, because he's definitely alive. He definitely is not dead. So But that rolls right into our tales.
You guys aren't funny. You're talking about someone being dead. That's mean. That's not funny. Don't send us any of those messages.
Actually, do send them to me, and then I'll forward them to Duncan. But we're gonna that will roll us right into Tales from the Table. And so this week's Tales from the Table comes to you brought by annoying people by asking them,
yes,
are you gonna pay the one?
Yeah, absolutely.
So in our play group at the shop, there is a gentleman known by Lizard, and he is notorious for yelling at people when they ask him he's going to pay the one, because he says it. And the reason why he does it, and again, he kind of does it tongue in cheek. He's not really being mean about it,
right.
But he plays with the same group of people, and everyone knows Lizard doesn't pay the one.
Right.
So when you ask him, he always has like an overreaction to it, because everyone knows Lizard's not going to pay the one.
Which is why you giddily ask him every time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
just with exuberance.
Yeah. And so and with that being said, when you're at the table and you're have a Ristic Study out, or you have one of those things, Mystic Remora, an Esper Sentinel, Lizard is notorious for never paying for any of them. He will never pay ever. And so people never ask him, but occasionally if he really gets pissed off, like that happened the last time we played, the person, it wasn't me, someone else at the table kept asking him, and he said, you know what, I'm going to pay it just to spite you. So he paid it.
Amazing.
Just so they wouldn't get it, because he was so aggravated they kept asking him. So, if you have those kind of triggers, like we were talking about, obviously you want to get your trigger and you want to get what the benefit, because that's what the card's there for.
Yeah.
But if someone tells you maybe, hey, I'm not going to pay the one every time I cast something, you can just draw.
Then ask them more. That's the message of this. That's the message. How can anyone walk away with anything else other than that? And do it in a dumb voice.
Only if it's like, is Dolph going to pay?
Yeah. And do it in a dumb voice. Yes. That's how you win this. That's
Lizard,
how you
I'm
win
so
at
sorry.
Magic.
If people start asking you all the time, I feel like we should all just get shirts that say that and just wear them when we play Lizard and just point at them.
That's how we're going to end this show.
Yeah.
Ask Lizard to pay the one.
Yeah. We'll do that today, because why not? We'll mix it up. Duncan's not here. We can do whatever we want.
That's right.
He let two foxes watch the hen house.
That's right.
So let's roll right into that. Doesn't do what you think it does. And this week's subject is don't pick up when someone swings lethal. So this is a little bit more notorious in our group, I would say. And this is probably my fault because I run what are affectionately known as fogs.
Well, I don't know if it's much your fault, but
it's a good reason.
You play in such a way that it certainly brings it up.
Right.
It's other people's fault.
Right.
Because they give up not realizing you
Right.
could have an answer. You also don't politic. So you don't let anyone know you have the answer, which also affects it.
Right, because that affects gameplay then. That's why I don't do it. So
Sometimes.
in Magic, there is a fun part of it where once you declare attackers and someone's swinging lethal, you could then respond, at that point with something to potentially, save that person. And so those are called fogs, is what they're known as. There's one card specifically called Fog, 1 green, prevent all combat damage.
Which is a great card.
It is a great card. There's other versions of it, but they're all still just called fogs as a category. Right. And so this is something that, for me personally, I always thought it was a more beneficial way for me to do what I wanted to in some of my decks, which was I wanted to be able to full out swing without having to try to give everything vigilance and all this other stuff to be able to protect myself.
Right.
And for the measly cost of 1 green mana, it's usually pretty easy to manage having 1 green mana left at the end of your turn. And so I have a deck that is mono green, and I think it runs 12 fogs in it.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of the deck is to swing and hit people with these little 1/1 death touchers that do poison when my commander's out, and kill people via death touch poison.
Right.
And so the whole point of the deck is, though, I have to keep swinging with my guys. Well, it made the glaring issue to me was, well, how are you going to stay alive? Because once people figure out what you're doing, they're just going to kill you immediately because no one likes poison. And so in my mind, it's a lot easier for me to show the bluff if I don't have one, but also have a 1-drop prevent all damage, keep me safe.
Right.
So fogs are something that I truly do love about the game, and I think it is cool too because you could save somebody and then without even saying anything, they feel like they owe you.
Well, not just that, but so it's neat to get a background to understanding why you went that direction.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But as it turns out, they've been more effective for letting people feel comfortable to swing out at everyone.
Right.
Someone swings out at everyone. All their stuff's tapped down now. They thought they won the game, so they took a risk.
Right.
You fog, they're done.
Yeah.
Their stuff's tapped.
Yeah.
Now it comes around. They're easy. They're done. And they changed the game.
Right.
And so I think, although you may have designed it for, hey, I want to be able to attack freely, what it actually ended up doing was give you this really cool trick that could end up turning the tides of the game.
Right. And I can't tell you how many times when I'm playing a green deck, Duncan and Jeff intentionally count how many people to swing with.
Yeah.
So they have enough to defend themselves.
Yeah.
Because they know if Sloan has green, there's a good chance he's got fogs. And if he's got fogs...
There's also the thing where we attack you early to draw out the fogs, which I'm sure doesn't always feel the best, but we know you got them. So, and it's not just that deck. It's like you said, any deck with green. We're probably just attacking you to see if you got it.
Right. And that and the reason why is too is like I said, I just feel like it's a strategy. It almost kind of for a long time was just kind of under the radar. Like nobody really did it because they're like,
you're right.
You know what? Well, who cares? It's like, well, think about it though, because if, like you said, if someone else swings full out, I got this game in the bag. No, you don't.
I think it was. I think it came out of the fact that you came out of a lot of play styles like that weren't commander.
Right.
They had less life.
Yeah.
So when you go to the 40 life, you're like, I got a ton of life. I don't care.
Right.
And it can get you in trouble because
a little bit
when you're down to 5 or 6 life, you're very limited on some of the things you can do.
Right. And you know the kind of variety of fogs they have too is always super fun because there are a bunch of different ones. Jeff's favorite is Arachnogenesis.
Yeah.
Is it creates spiders for the amount of attackers that are attacking you, and then you can have those spiders block, and only spiders do damage that turn. I think it says. Right. So it's very fun.
But it doesn't get to do the cool thing of the fog where it stops damage for. Well, does it?
Yeah, it does.
It does.
All
it
damage that would be dealt by non-spiders.
Non-spiders. So then I get to kill their stuff.
You get to kill their stuff. Your stuff stays alive, and you can.
Now, to be fair, I typically think about that, and this is another point. Is I typically think about that just to protect me.
Right.
But I need to maybe think more. Are there times I can use it to just protect everyone so we can kill the threat?
Right.
Yeah. It's very cool.
Yeah. So
sorry, Jack, I got very loud with that. Yeah.
He'll get over it. He's used to me. But yeah, so if someone's swinging with lethal, you know, make sure you let everything resolve as it should. I can't tell you how many times, if for me being the person who does play a lot of fogs, luckily Duncan and Jeff are pretty used to it by now. They know Sloan is actually going to go through, and they kind of almost know to wait until I decide if it's actually going to go through or not based off of what deck I'm playing. So, but yeah, just wait till everything actually resolves. Remember, you know, the stack's there for a reason, priority's there for a reason. It's to help make sure the game flow goes smoothly. You know, we always kind of talk about how jumping and showing your hand too early could, you know, definitely is a bad thing to do.
Yeah, and set rules up front. We have a rule in our play groups where you can only scoop at sorcery speed,
right?
Unless everybody is scooping. If the entire table is scooping, sometimes it's like fog isn't really going to help. The game's over. It's got an infinite combo. Let's just show us the combo. We'll all be done. But other than that, you can only scoop at sorcery speed, which keeps people from doing shenanigans. You know.
Yeah. And we'll go ahead and move right into the main topic for today, the meat and potatoes, as it were. Jeff, what is Magic doing right? Now, I will start off by saying, I know that Duncan, our main criticizer of Magic, is not here.
And all things.
And, yeah. I mean,
although I have the trigger section. Which he's the one who's typically salty about it.
Yeah, I know. He does get aggravated about a lot of stuff. But I will say, you know, we kind of talked about this subject at our pre-show meeting, and the big thing is you know, especially with some things that happened this year with the Commanders Council and stuff like that, I think we wanted to kind of focus on what are some of the positives we've seen in Magic. And so, you know, we're not really going to touch base on anything that we're kind of frustrated or downside. This is mainly going to be about what are we seeing and what do we think Magic is doing right. And so, Jeff, I'll let you take the lead on this one? Take the first topic.
Well, I mean, first of all, if we want our game to continue and be strong, it has to do well.
Right.
And so they've been very profitable.
Yeah.
And that is a positive thing. We want the company to do well financially, so they come out with more content, they get more IPs. Like we just talked about getting Star Wars. You need to make a lot of money to get Star Wars.
Right.
And so I feel like the place to start for me is that they have done a very good job of being profitable, while at the same time, I still love the game.
Yeah.
And there's so many times that games have become, we talked a little bit on one of the podcasts, collectible versus playable, right?
Right, yeah.
There are games that have gone collectible, right? The game is not fun anymore.
Because
I'm just
it's
collecting
just about,
it.
it's just about the card
And then there
value.
are games that the game took over, the cards aren't worth anything. Like
Right.
you'll buy the card for this really outrageous price, and then a day later it's not worth anything anymore.
Right.
And I understand there are times that happens, but that doesn't happen right after the card's made typically with Magic.
Yeah.
The state of Magic is strong. It's good.
Yeah.
And it's still fun. Heck, that's well done.
Yeah,
Wizards of the Coast,
92,
Hasbro, Magic,
I
well
think.
done.
It's Magic started, I want to say 92.
Yeah.
Year I was born, great year. And, it's very rare to have a game do as well as it has done consistently.
Yeah.
And not only do well, but continue to draw more people in over and over and over again. So definitely kudos to them. I mean, me and Jeff work at the same place, and he is learning to take the reins on running the business, and so he knows looking at it from the business side, he's very good at recognizing like, hey, it's definitely a positive thing because we've seen it in our own company where we're able to get more benefits for the guys in regards to that, upgrade some equipment for us, and it just makes us a better company to help serve our customers.
Get better training, hire better talent. You know, we're talking about with Magic, we want them to not create the bird, right? You know, the infamous bird that we're not going to talk about. His name will not be spoken.
Yeah.
We don't want them to make those mistakes. We want them to make better cards that aren't spiking the power level every time they do it. That requires talent.
It does.
And that requires time. If you've got a guy who's doing 5 different things and can't just focus on this, they don't have time. When you bring more profit into the business, you now have more people that can focus on the areas that make your game strong. And that's probably really good for Magic.
Yeah, I mean, in the infamous words of Ron Swanson's, don't half but 2 things when you can whole but 1 thing. So, definitely, and that's what we want, right? We want this game to grow and get better. And, yes, are they going to make mistakes with the bird we shall not name? Absolutely.
Yep.
But would I rather them make that mistake, realize it was a mistake and learn from it? Or would I rather them not make anything exciting or fun at all?
Exactly. You got to take risks.
Right.
No, that's a great point.
Yeah. So, one of the things I feel like Magic did really well this year, the conventions. Kudos to the conventions.
Yeah.
Duncan got to go to, I think, 2 of them this year.
Right.
And our local shop got to go to both of them as well. So he got to see our local shop there and hang out with them and touch bases with them. He got to play on the floor. I mean, and he said they were packed. He said, wall to wall every day, they were just slammed. And again, good job, because one of the big things, because I do try to go to like Comic Cons and stuff like that, there's always Magic the Gathering vendors there.
Yeah.
And they always are busy. Every day I go by, there are always 10 to 15 people around every single Magic the Gathering vendor.
Which is not true about every vendor at a Comic Con.
No,
for
it's not.
sure.
Yeah. I mean,
it's basically Lego and Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, Lego vendors at cons do great. I mean, they're, because especially, which I never even knew it until I started working at Tri-County and met one of the other managers there, Rich Trahuba, who is a Lego nerd. Did not realize the Legos got up to $300 for a single little guy. Did not know that. Was beyond my knowledge. So
I think they go way more than that.
Well, the
tens of thousands.
Oh yeah, there's some that are super rare you just can't get.
Yeah.
So but like they're like, we go to this Lego vendor and the little people are like 3 pieces in 5 cents plastic are selling for $50. I'm like,
that's my kid's favorite counter to go to at Comic Con.
Yeah, it's Legos.
But no, that's 100% true. The concept is strong, and I think they're strong because Wizards figured out that it's about the story. It's about the personalities. It's about the people. And they connected with some really, really good content creators that are able to get out there and make it an experience.
Yeah, I mean, some of the most watched videos for Magic are gameplay, and being able to watch your favorite podcasts, meet them, get their autographs, get pictures with them, and then be a part of them playing a game that they're going to put on their podcast. You can roll
dice,
the giant dice they throw out.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, they did a really good job.
Yeah. And they dressed up this year too as like whatever commander they were playing for that.
I think they've done that other years too.
Yeah, and they had banners and like they make it a show. Like good on them. Like that is great. Like the command zone, that whole group of producers and talent they are really good at what they do.
Very.
I mean, if you don't like some of the things they say or what, you have to acknowledge at least that they're good at what they do,
and they're good for the community. There are a lot of other content creators that are good for the community too. And so Magic has done a good job partnering with them. I would say there are, of course, people that are like, oh, they're shills or whatever, but much of that is nonsense. I really think questioning someone's integrity is typically not a good way to go. What they're doing for Magic is great. I applaud them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good job. I agree. The cons are very good.
So, but yeah, Jeff, you got your next one ready?
Yeah. So I think the art has been very good. We're moving into a world where AI is a fear for some people. It's a fear on the art side, and Magic making the right decision from everything I can tell to really limit that and really focus on artists has been really good. Now, I know there are some changes coming with the IPs where sometimes the artists can't make the mats they used to make.
Yeah,
because
they can't use creative. Yeah, they can't use.
But I think Magic is going to figure that out because the artists are so important to this community.
Yeah.
Another thing back to the cons is when you go to those different cons, the artist being there is a huge draw.
Absolutely.
People want to go up there. They want to get their autograph. They want to get their personal work.
Yeah, Duncan is all about the artist proofs now.
Yeah.
That's his big...
that is a big thing for him on the collector level.
Yeah.
So the art has been strong, and I've been really impressed with a lot of the art.
Yeah, I mean, we specifically talked about with the Marvel set how they did a good job of showing each hero through like the ages of the comics with the art in the pictures.
The Lord of the Rings diorama. I don't know what that was. What do you call that?
I think they called it a Lord of the Rings picture. What did they call it? I can't remember what they called it.
I don't know, but it was all connected together where it was one scene. It was like all the cards made up a scene.
Even beyond the art on the cards, they started making art cards, which are just the art, and some of them have signatures. And I personally have started, I like getting those. They're beautiful. They're well done.
Yeah. What I'd like to do is I've been collecting those. You can take them all, stick them in a nice frame.
Yeah.
Use like the Mod Podge or whatever, get them in there to connect them all together. Because the art, when we're collecting... Some of this is we're collecting our favorite art.
Yeah.
Like one of the reasons why I love my Atraxa deck is because I loved the art on Atraxa.
Yeah, it is a sick art.
And I just thought this character is so cool looking.
Yeah.
Elish Norn, very weird, but very cool. Like there's so much of that iconic art out there. And I'm someone who loves going to art galleries and stuff.
Yeah.
They are doing a good job.
Yeah,
it's very good.
I would definitely say like one of the cool things about like even for example the Assassin's Creed, they did like a secret layer for it where they did like the blueprint drawing style of Assassin's Creed because it's Leonardo da Vinci was in the first game.
Yeah.
And so it was a nod to Leonardo da Vinci and like the blueprints that he made, and so they were doing a really good job of the art on the cards and the art making sense for what the cards are representing and the actual art itself just being gorgeous. I mean, the full art stuff they started doing, like we talked about, the basic lands are getting ridiculous. They're so gorgeous now in every set. Like back in the day, I think it was maybe, I want to say 7 years ago now, is when they came out with the first full art land in the unset. And it was the most expensive basic land.
It had to be way longer.
It couldn't have been much more than 7 or 8 years because I've only been back for 10 years. So it had to be shortly after I came back. So about 8 years ago. But it was the first time they did a full art for a basic land. And those for the longest time were impossible to find and super expensive, like $10 to $12.
And now there's so many, you have your choice. Like they're much cheaper now. You can you can let your flavor speak through your lands, and that's kind of neat. So
so I mean, good job on Magic for really diving into the artists and letting them be more creative on this, the cards and everything from the lands to reprints and re-arts of cards to brand new cards that are coming out.
So what is another thing you got then?
Yeah. So one more thing that I got that I think that Magic is doing right is, though it feels like kind of up and down, I feel like they've done a pretty good job of hearing the pleas this year. I feel like they did a good job of actually kind of listening to the community. Now, there are some things I disagree on, but we're not going to talk about those because this is a positive segment.
Yeah.
So the fact that they did listen about the bird that shall not be named, the fact that they listened about, it seems like they listened about kind of the complaint that a lot of people had about standard for a long time, and they responded with foundations.
Yeah.
You know, like they've done a lot of good listening this year. And even though, you know, again, we're still in the infancy of Hasbro owning, you know, Magic and Wizards of the Coast, I do think they've done a good job of trying to listen to the community, listen to the feedback, and try to respond to it the best way they can. Because again, we do have to remember that they're not printing these sets 2 days before they release. They've come up with these sets 2 years ago. So it's not like we can say something today and then the next set's going to fix it all, because that set was made 2 years ago.
Right.
And that's something that we do need to keep in mind as the players giving the feedback is we can't get immediate responses in this type of game when...
Well, good example of that is manufacturing.
Yeah,
manufacturing requires contracts.
Right.
That last a long time.
Yeah.
And you try to negotiate those contracts to be, you know, profitable.
Absolutely.
And you also want to do it. Well, foils were a big problem. They all, you know, curled up.
Right.
But it seems like they've fixed that problem. Well, it doesn't matter if they knew about the problem. They had to wait out whatever contracts they had, whatever material they had that was making the card. I don't know what they did to change it, but good job. They did. They fixed it.
Yeah.
So to your point, they heard us and they fixed it.
And again, coming back to like the business side where we work, you know, it's the difference between where we work is if we hear feedback like, hey, I feel like this isn't being done, it's something that we can usually, for the most part, turn around, talk to the managers at staffing, try to talk to it within a meeting a week or two later and start resolving the issue.
Yeah.
Same thing with video games. You know, you look at, you know, World of Warcraft or League of Legends or some of these other games, they have patches every single week.
Right.
A major patch they come out with, you download it, it does fixes. Then they have hot fixes throughout the week. You can't hot fix cardboard.
No.
Like, once it's out there, it's out there.
You're done.
Yeah, you're done. So, you know, again, we need to remember that we have to be patient when we give feedback. We have to remember that even though it seems like a lot of the people dedicated to this game that we love when Hasbro took over were removed, there are still people there that love this game and want to protect this game and want to do everything they can to make this game better for us.
Yeah, and then the last thing I'd bring up is IPs.
Yeah.
And what I would say is they've done a great job on IPs. I understand there are some people that like, hey, I don't like this IP, and I don't want SpongeBob, or I don't want this, or I don't want that. But all the ones you do want, other people don't want.
Right. Yeah.
So the way IPs work is they let you get some of the things you love into the game you love, but the trade-off is there's going to be some things in the game you don't love.
Right.
Well, don't buy those cards.
Yeah.
And when other people do, let them have fun and enjoy them. But it is really hard to negotiate IPs.
Yeah.
And they're doing it. And they're doing a
great
job of it, man.
I would say they're very successful. I mean,
who would have thought they'd get Lord of the Rings, Warhammer,
Assassin's Creed,
Dungeons
Marvel,
and Dragons, which they kind of already had. But,
well, they own, yeah,
but still,
the same company.
now they got Marvel. I mean, well done.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that, you know, because when it came to the Assassin's Creed one, out of our show, I was the only one that was really super excited about it. And the main reason why was Assassin's Creed came out when I was in high school. And it was when I was super into, video games and my Xbox and stuff. And so it was like a groundbreaking game.
It was a nostalgia game for you.
Yeah, it was nostalgia. And the game itself was gorgeous. It was history based. So you had these actual real life historical people that you were meeting, and they did a really good job of showing how, they got to do that invention because a secret group of assassins helped them get there.
It's very cool.
So it was a super cool idea and concept. And to me, one of the big things for me is if a game is so good that it draws me into the story mode, like that is a good game. Because I'm not usually a story mode player. I'm more about the PvP aspect of games. So for me, it was just a love I had for it. And so I was very excited about it. And I don't think Duncan or Jeff bought any of the cards really for it. But then when Marvel was announced, like I know for a fact the day Marvel was announced until they bought it, that's all I heard about was how excited they were for Marvel, and then cards got leaked, and then they started. I
mean, months before.
Months, yeah.
So hey, hats off to you, Magic. You really are doing a good job.
Yeah, I mean, despite
if you guys are listening, okay, and you're like, you don't think so, you're listening to a Magic podcast, so they must be doing pretty well.
Yeah, they had to be doing something right. It's either that or you were expecting Duncan to be here and complain the whole time again, which unfortunately, again, alive. But just not here.
Well, he's working, so he's probably complaining wherever he is.
I could be complaining about Magic right now.
Because he's definitely alive.
Yeah, because he's definitely alive. Yeah. So, but that will bring us into the pro tips for beginners from a non-pro. So kind of wrapping all of this up, my pro tip, because this is going to be coming out, I believe, the week of Thanksgiving. We're going to be dropping this. My pro tip is, guys, just be thankful. Be thankful you have a game that you love so much. You're willing to spend money on, you're willing to listen to podcasts about, you're willing to watch videos about, potentially watch a new Netflix series about, get frustrated about, have arguments over a table about, have laughs over a table about, and most importantly, build friendships that hopefully are going to last you the rest of your life. Because I will tell you for a fact that being someone, despite what I sound like on the podcast, in real life, I'm not really super outgoing to new people. I'm very reserved. I can say that I'm very appreciative of the fact that, when I went down to the shop for the very first time in Port Charlotte, Mythic Forge, that, with Duncan and Jeff, and they introduced me to some of the guys there, that now I have friends down there that I'm comfortable with going down and playing, even if Jeff and Duncan can't make it and spending time with, and these other people I've met through this game that we love, so be thankful that you have a game that is continuing to grow and that you're so passionate about, you're willing to, make memories, hopefully, that will last you the rest of your life with people.
And if you're getting time to play it, be thankful for that, because I can tell you right now, when you have hurricanes and all kinds of other stuff affect the business and the area around the business, and you don't have time, you're like, oh man, I want to go play, but I've got this responsibility. And so life has, you go through ups and downs, you go through seasons. Enjoy when you have the time to play.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, that's going to do it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me and Jeff. Again, Duncan will definitely be here at another podcast recording. He is definitely still alive. And we just want to take a moment also to thank Jack from Info Pilgrims. Appreciate him doing everything he does for us, producing, editing, listening to our shenanigans that he knows nothing about. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, always feel free to email us at cast@commanderspod.com or head to our Patreon at patreon.com/commanderspod. And then lastly, you can check out our website at commanderspod.com. And also don't forget, we're actually starting to put out YouTube videos of the podcast. So hopefully you'll start seeing some of those come up. And I know we keep saying it, but I promise you, we are trying to figure out a way to do game recordings to be able to upload.
Yeah, we're learning. We're not as good as some of the podcasts we've talked about. We're learning to create quality content, and that's a challenge because we're all very busy. But yeah, we're gonna get there.
Yeah, we're trying to get there. So guys, we appreciate your patience and sticking around with us. And don't forget, Lizard, are you gonna pay the one?
That's right. Don't forget to ask him.
Commander's Pod, where the stories unfold, with heroes and villains, new and old. Duncan, Jeff, and Sloan guide the way in the world of EDH we play. So tune in, friends, let's draw and go. In the Commander's Pod, the love will show. From our decks to yours, we share the spark in this world of magic. We'll leave a mark.